The Honorable Dr. Kesiel Atuba Forson, who appeared as the finance minister designate, was evasive, inconsistent, and lacked clarity of thought. Having served as a deputy minister of finance and a ranking member of the finance committee, one would have expected his answers to be forthright and to exude concrete solutions. For instance, on the specific matter of whether the government would cater for the first-year tuition fees or academic facility user fees of tertiary students as promised, we found the minister-designate's response highly disappointing. How can a finance minister-designate look into the faces of parents and young Ghanaian students and say that because he's not yet the minister, he cannot answer whether the pledge by President Mahama to pay for their fees will be honored? This is a clear way of telling our tertiary students that the NDC party just deceived them for their votes. When asked about the free senior high school program and whether it will be extended to private schools as indicated in the NDC manifesto, the minister-designate, in a very dismissive manner, asked whether those private schools write WASSCE, that is a West Africa Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination. First, it was shocking to observe the minister-designate feign ignorance of the fact that there are many private senior high schools that write WASSCE. We can all recall that during the election campaign, President Mahama met the leadership of the private senior high schools and promised to include private schools in the free senior high school program. If President Mahama and the NDC knew that no private senior high school writes WASSCE, why did they promise to include them in the free senior high school program? For the information of the minister and President Mahama, there are private schools in Ghana that write WASSCE, and they are anxiously waiting to be included in the free senior high school program. What is the finance minister designate waiting for? Was this not their campaign promise? What informed the promise? Didn't they do the numbers first? In the case of the free senior high school, is the minister designate saying that only schools writing WASSCE are required for the free senior high school program? With respect to tertiary students, the number of students in our tertiary schools is a public record, and an estimate ought to have been known with a promise. On behalf of our sons, daughters, nephews, and nieces, we wish to remind the government that these students will be entering tertiary institutions any moment from now. Regarding fuel supply for power generation, the nominee previously alarmed the nation by claiming that the previous government left us with only 5 hours of fuel. He stated, and I quote, "I have bad news for you. Just today, the confirmation we are getting is that we have only 5 hours of fuel stock. If you look at heavy fuel oil and distillate fuel, we don't have up to 2 days. In 2 days' time, we are likely to run out of fuel. The administration has not ordered any fuel as we speak. It takes on average 4 weeks for the fuel to arrive, 4 weeks for the fuel to be treated. We are in a very serious situation," unquote. This is what the minister nominee said. However, when pressed for clarification, he shifted his narrative, specifying that he was referring only to heavy fuel, HFO, or AXA and light crude oil for Sonon Asubin. This is misleading as it disregards the fact that SunPower had sufficient light crude oil reserves to last for 23 days, and that the procurement of fuel for independent power producers IPPs is an ongoing process. Such inconsistencies only serve to sow confusion and panic within the business community and the public. The question we ask is, it has been more than 2 days. Why is the light not off? If indeed we had only 5 hours of fuel.
The Attorney General designate is a law professor. When approved, he is going to be the chief enforcer of our laws. When he appeared before the committee and was asked about the legality of this aura, he justified it. He justified the unconstitutional establishment and putting together of people who go about harassing former government officials. We believe that the establishment of that oral committee violates and flies in the face of our constitution. And so one would have expected that a law professor in the person of Dr. Ayeni would have condemned it. But rather, he justified it. Now his justification is now putting the work of the police CID, Yoko, and special prosecutor, and constitutionally established bodies out of business. It is concerning, and we want the people of Ghana to know that no serious country will entertain anything such as this. And so if you are a former government official and you're invited by this so-called aura, our advice to you from the minority is to boycott any invitation from the aura team. We are not going to be part of it because we believe that there are constitutionally established bodies that can investigate any so-called misdeeds of the government. What are they doing? What they are doing is to go about disturbing people, entering homes, taking vehicles, seizing vehicles, and more or less taking over lands from people who have genuinely purchased lands. What the former government officials have done is to acquire properties that legally they could acquire. No illegality has taken place. In any case, the NDC, their members have also acquired lands in this country. The executives, Okujetu, Ablakwa and Co., they live in the cantonments. They live in the airport. They live in the childhoods. Lands which were government lands, which they bought many years ago. The people of Ghana should not tolerate this aura, which is out there to only persecute the former government officials. Thank you very much.
We would like to know how the minister-designate plans to make up for the revenue shortfalls that will arise as a result of the tax cuts. The minister's quick response was cuts in expenditure. While we believe expenditure cuts could be a possible way to match revenue with expenses in order not to run into fiscal deficits, it is not in itself the ultimate solution to address revenue shortfalls. On the matter of expenditure cuts, the minister-designate fell short in providing clarity on which aspects of government expenditure he intends to cut. Is it salaries, interest payments, or capital expenditure? Would the minister-designate's expenditure cuts affect teacher trainee allowances, nursing trainee allowances, free senior high school, the livelihood empowerment against poverty, subsidy on fertilizer for farmers? Would it affect the school feeding program? Would it affect salaries of government workers? Is it going to affect improvement in conditions of service for teachers, health professionals, security officers, and all essential service providers? Is it going to affect infrastructure in the road sector, education sector, health sector, and agriculture sector? Is it going to affect ongoing road projects? Is it going to affect youth employment? Is it going to affect social safety nets for the Ghanaian people? Ghanaians need to know. The minister designates unconvincing responses regarding how he intends to make up for the revenue shortfalls leave us with no choice but to think that he will scrap these taxes but introduce new ones, perhaps more draconian than those he would scrap. We cannot give with his right hand and take back with his left hand.